Hello, welcome to Living History School. My name is Scott, and today we'll be looking at an archaeological site on the Oregon coast where Indian people lived for thousands of years. We're going to be looking at a shell mound today. A shell mound is basically this large mound that we have right here is made up of thousands and thousands of shells and other shellfish that the native peoples gathered from the tide pools down below here. What they would do, Indians would camp up on these bluffs just above the ocean, and then on low tide they would go on down to the tide pools here and gather mussels and clams and other invertebrates, mollusks, and then they would bring them back up on these higher bluffs up here, and they would basically eat them, and they would live here right on these mounds, and they would build their houses. They would build plank houses and live in the plank houses, and they would basically discard their stuff, and when people died, they would be buried right here on these large mounds. And if you're archaeologists have excavated these mounds and found a lot of sea otter bones and whale bones and sea lions, and these were all things that they hunted out here on these coastal rocks. There's some little islands out here. They would go out to there on their canoes, and they would spear these sea mammals. So here's what the soil looks like. It's very dark from thousands and thousands of years of burning fires, and then inside the soil here is countless mussel shells, clam shells, bits of animal bone, bits of sea mammal bones, and sometimes they even find large pieces of whale bone in here. So the soil is basically really rich and dark, and just filled with shell. So you also find a lot of just this fire-cracked rock from all the campfires and cooking stones, and there's a piece of a cooking stone or a rock from around the campfire. You find bits of mussel shells, lots of mussels, bits of clams, and other sea mollusks. So Indian people, they would go down with their carrying baskets like this lady has. They would put them on their backs and with a tump line going over their foreheads, and they would go on down to the tide pools, and they would gather the mussels and other mollusks. Here's a photo around the turn of the century. There are still native peoples living within the area, and they would still go down and try to practice their traditional ways. You can notice the conical shaped baskets on the rocks. They're used for gathering the shellfish. She would carry with them probably some type of prying stick to pry mussels and off the rocks. So thanks for joining me today on the Living History School. And one last thing before we go, I'd like to show you this really cool whale scapula that I found down at the beach. Basically, it's the front fin of a whale, so it's the shoulder blade of the whale. So it's pretty cool. So there it is, whale scapula. And hopefully you'll subscribe to my channel. See you next time.